Brazelton, and I'm here representing the Swiss alphorn. Even though I am from the United States, a lot of people question where I am from, but I am from Salt Lake City, Utah, United States. And so I have heritage from Switzerland, and I've been playing the alphorn for over 20 years, and I have a band called Salzburger Echo, and we utilize the alphorns to break up from dance music. The piece I just played, as you noticed, was not really a dance. It was like meant to be played out indoors, and then you would play a little bit and let it rest, and then play with nature. Now, the alphorn is an instrument that has been around in Switzerland for 500 to 600 years. The alphorn traditionally was made from a tree that had been formed by nature. So they would find a tree growing on the side of a mountain where the snow has curved it, and then so that's where the bell shape is like that naturally. So if you were wondering how I'm able to transport it, it does come apart. So they would find a tree approximately the size of 2 men, and then they would chop it down, split it down the middle, all the way, and then hollow out the halves. It'd be a project that a shepherd would do over the whole summer while he was watching his sheep. So after he had the halves hollowed out, when they first started making alphorns, they really didn't have very good glues to put it back together. So they would traditionally wrap it with birch bark. Birch bark, when it was at the right time of year, would have a lot of sap, and it would actually function like a glue, and then that would help to strengthen the instrument and also to prevent any air leaks. So each of the shepherds was pretty much by himself in the mountains, so the alphorn would traditionally be a solo instrument and was a form of communication because of the distance between the peaks of the Alps, and there's really no trees or anything. The alphorn, the sound of it can carry 6 miles or 10 kilometers. I'm going to play now a piece that was used for communication, and it was called All Is Well. So they would play this back to their village, and people would know everything was fine. All is well. Now, some of you may have recognized that melody. Brahms was over on holiday or on vacation in Switzerland. He heard that call, and he wrote it down on a postcard and sent it to Schumann's daughter, and then later used that melody in his first symphony in the 4th movement. So it's been around for hundreds of years. He was probably one of the first ones to actually write down the music of the alphorn players. The music was pushed or brought down to the generations only by an oral tradition. So they did not have music. And it was starting to go away because the shepherds around the late 1700s, early 1800s were not using it as much as for communication anymore. And so the whole alphorn was about ready to disappear. So in 1802, they had a competition to see how many alphorn players would come, and only 2 showed up in 1802. So at the same time that the alphorn was about ready to disappear from Switzerland. So is the music. And so a fellow named Gassman, he went around to all the herders and listened to them play their melodies, and he wrote them down. And that was the first time that they had actually written the music for the Alphorn down. And so thankfully for him, pieces that are now 200-300 years old are able to be played today. It went from being a solo instrument to now they would have a festival when they would bring the cows down from the mountains for the winter, and now it is a concert instrument, not just for signaling. So you'll have groups from quartets, 4 or more, that play an ensemble with written music. Now, some of you are probably wondering, how do you make a sound on an alphorn? So there are no valves, there are no holes. The only thing that it does is functions like a big amplifier. So what we do is sound is vibration. So what vibrates on an alphorn player is the lips. We call it buzzing our lips. So we vibrate or buzz our lips. We use a mouthpiece. Most similar, it's still made out of wood. It has to be made out of wood. It's very similar to a French horn mouthpiece. Now, the alphorn is not capable of playing a lot of notes. It only plays notes that are on the natural harmonic series. So there's a lot of notes that I can't play until I start getting higher, where they get closer together, which then allows me to play a melody like I just played. Listen as I demonstrate. Now, the length of the instrument determines what pitch it is. So this instrument, if you were to take a French horn, a curled up instrument, played like that, and straightened it out, this is how long it would be. If you thought it sounds a little bit like a French horn, that's why, because it plays in the same key as a French horn. These instruments are still considered alphorns, a lot smaller. This one plays in the key of G, but you can't play as many notes on it because it's so small. And it would use mostly for signaling. And so it would just be like fanfares. You really can't play much of a melody with it. This instrument is called a bushel. The bushel is in the key of the same as a trumpet or a bugle, but it's twice as long, so it allows you to play more notes. And listen as I play this now. The way this one was made is in 3 different parts. The bell part, and then 2 other sections. And most trees don't grow in a bend like that, so it's a solid piece of wood, cut in half, hollowed out, and then put all back together. And this will sound a lot more like a trumpet or a bugle. And again, there's no valves or anything, it's all done with the lips. Yeah, so original tradition was for communication, and then it became, as it went longer in history, then they finally started having festivals, and then it became a concert instrument. And now, since Leopold Mozart wrote one of the first pieces with strings for alphorn and strings, and that was in the 1700s, and it's just become more and more popular all the time. And it is on the concert stage. In fact, I'm working on an album right now that requires 4 alphorns and orchestra. And so that comes from the folk tradition, and as most instruments, it starts with the folk tradition, and then it gradually ends up becoming into a classical tradition. All right, I'll play one more piece for you. Before I play one more piece, I would like to thank this whole event. It's been quite a special event, and the staff that have helped put it on. I know you guys work tirelessly to do this, and it's very appreciated.